Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to Hive Knits and Natters with me, Lizzie, the maker behind Hive Knits. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Hive Knits, and of course here on YouTube. This is the second time I have filmed this introduction, as the first time I got halfway through and the letterbox and the doorbell went. So take two. I just feel like it's going to be one of those days where little interruptions happen here and there, but we roll. So hope everyone is doing okay. It is a beautiful sunny Monday in late September here in the UK. I have dressed in wool today, as will become apparent, because this little lady is about to be launched into the world. And I was really excited to put like a woolly sweater on today, but I'm worried I'm gonna have to take it off because it's warm. So I've got my back doors open, got my cozy set up. The cats are both out at the minute, so hopefully they won't be interrupting things. So we'll just go with the flow and see what happens. Regular viewers might be shocked and, surprised at the fact that it's only been 2 weeks since my last video. I think 2 or 3. Anyway, way shorter gap than last time. However, when the podcasting feeling arises, you go with it. And I wanted to film a video in time for the launch of my new pattern, which is launching on Saturday, and that is the Reste sweater, which leads me into what I am wearing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Reste sweater. I think because of the amazing work of my test knitters, people are kind of aware of the pattern, so I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail. There is a lot of detail up on my Ravelry page for the sweater already, so please go and have a look there. Traffic through the Ravelry page will definitely help with the launch as well, so really appreciate it, even if you have absolutely no interest in buying the pattern. And yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about this, a little bit about the sister garment, the Reste Cardigan, where we're up to with that, because it is now a finished object. That's right, and the ends have all been woven in, because I'll tell you a secret, I haven't woven in the ends of my Poppy Tee, and I've been wearing that like nobody's business, and the ends are still just hanging out inside. I just took them away. But the Reste Cardigan has had all its ends woven in, which was no joke, in a stripy garment. But I'm having some second thoughts about a few bits and bobs with that, so I'll talk about that. And I got a couple of whips to show you. One which I totally messed up showing on video last episode. If you've watched that, there is a segment where I just had to use an editing voiceover because I lost a segment of my filming. I've no idea where it went. Maybe I never even filmed it in the first place, I don't know. But I certainly went through the motions of chatting about it, holding it up to the camera, which is hilarious if that just wasn't recording. So I am properly going to show you a whip which I failed miserably to show you last time. As well as a little bit of progress update on my wedding, the first cardigan, bridal edition, and a new whip that you haven't seen yet, but I sort of talked about a little bit last time. So that's the general situation. So let's get started talking about this sweater, which I'm wearing. So this is the Reste sweater. Because I'm sitting down and the stripes are kind of below the yoke on the sweater, I'm aware that it just looks like a grey mock neck sweater, but it's not. Ta-da! She's a stripy lady with a split hem. So she has mohair stripes, which is designed to use up your lace weight scraps in the colours of your choice, and that is why the Reste sweater and cardigan. That's why the word Reste is used. I feel like it's confused people a little bit, which is fine because it is a bit of a random name if you don't know what the word means. But basically, in quite a few languages, forgive me, I can't remember exactly which ones, and it's spelt slightly differently, but it definitely includes German, Danish, I think Polish, and a few others as well, I think. Reste, R-E-S-T-E, or sometimes with an R on the end, means scraps or leftovers. And the point of this project was to be able to use leftovers, scraps, to make a beautiful garment. So that's where the name comes from, if that confused anybody. And yeah, the pattern is launching on Saturday, this Saturday, the 30th of September. It'll be available from midnight UK time, which is British summertime at the moment, and it's going to be for sale through my Ravelry page. The sweater, as you can see, and I will, if not already done so, put in some B-roll for this, but it is a top-down raglan construction with a very broad raglan, which I really, really like. It's a 6-stitch raglan, which is very difficult to say. It's a 6-stitch raglan, 2x2 ribbing details, and I was thrilled to see that someone else is making a sweater with a 6-stitch raglan. I think she can say it better than I can, which is Copy Callie from the Copy Dolls. I was watching her twin sisters vlog, knit and chat, yesterday, and suddenly I saw a picture of the Reste sweater pop up, and they were talking about thick raglans and the fact that they really like them, and I was like, oh yeah, me too. Oh, that's my pattern. So that was fun. But yes, thick raglan details, 2x2 ribbing on the neck and the cuffs, and as you saw when I stood up on the split hem, bit of a, would we call this a mock neck? I think that's what I've gone for in the pattern writing. A bit higher than kind of your standard crew neck, which is very, very cozy. And yeah, I think it just gives it a little something. Generally a bit of an oversized fit. The recommended ease on the bust is about 15-16 centimeters, and on the sleeves about 6 centimeters or so. Obviously ease is entirely personal. Some testers had that much, some testers had quite a bit less. It's entirely due to personal preference. The sweater has been graded into 12 sizes, professionally graded, and I will link my grader's information down below because she has just been fantastic. Rebecca, thank you so much. And important to say that sizes 8 and 11 and 12 have not been tested. I didn't find testers for 11 and 12, and unfortunately my size 8 testers it didn't work out. But all the other 9 sizes have been tested. So if you would like to kind of test after the fact and give feedback for one of those 3 sizes, 8, 11 or 12, then please get in touch, because if you'd be willing to do that, I'd be happy to kind of give you a free copy of the pattern as I would any other tester. But otherwise, you can rest assured that these sizes have been graded and tested. So sizes 1 through 12, the smallest size is to fit a 75 centimeter bust. Let me just check that info because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. You'd think I'd know because it's my design, but there you go. Yes, I was right. 75 centimeter bust, and then the first 6 sizes go up in 5 centimeter increments, so up through to 100 centimeter bust. By the way, that was a 30-inch through to a 40-inch bust. And then the next 6 sizes go up in 10cm or 4-inch increments. So all the way through from 110 to 160 centimeters or 44 to 64 inches. Ease is roughly the same through all the sizes. Obviously you can knit whichever size to give you whichever ease you want for yourself. And all this information is on the Ravelry page, so I won't go into loads and loads of details. But I just think it's useful when there's lots of information available before you buy a pattern. I quite like that, and I hope that it would make people more keen to buy the pattern, because nothing's been like held back. All the information for like intended like model bust circumference, sweater circumference, armhole depth, sleeve length, underarm hem length, that's all available via the Ravelry page. In terms of yarn that I used for the sample, this is Filcolana Perilla, which is a sport weight, 175 meters to 50 grams Peruvian Highland wool from Filcolana. It's the same yarn as their actual Peruvian yarn, but it's just finer, so it's sport weight instead of, I think their Peruvian is like a heavy DK worsted kind of weight. I think it's about 100 meters to 50 grams instead of 175, but the fibre is the same. And I held that with a strand of Drops Kid Silk for the main colour. And then for the stripes, I made them out of holding 2 lace weight Mohair scraps strands together for each colour. And again, all the yarn weight and information estimates is all on the Ravelry page. For size 4, which is what I've made, the recommended number of skeins for each of the main colour yarns is, I was going to say it's both 6. It's 6 of Perilla and 5 of Drops Kid Silk, but then obviously the scraps use a little bit of Kid Silk. I think they're about 7 grams per stripe. So 5 stripes on the sweater, that's about just over like a skein and a half of total lace weight scraps. So you're looking at like 5.5, you're looking at like 6.5 skeins of lace weight total if you want to hold it with the main colour and for the scraps. But some testers didn't hold the main colour double-stranded. They used double Sunday held on its own, for example, and some testers also changed up the stripes. So instead of using lace weight scraps, they used like hand-dyed fingering weight yarn, for example. One of the testers actually did the stripes in the same fibre as the main colour, but just played around with the colour. All the testers pretty much have done an amazing job of putting their projects on Ravelry and Instagram. So if you want to check out any of their projects, then on Instagram, just follow the hashtag the Reste Sweater, not Reste Sweater. It's important, it's the Reste Sweater, otherwise you won't see all the pictures. And there are, I think, 22 projects at the minute from the testers, including mine, on the Reste Sweater Ravelry page. So peruse away, knock yourselves out. So this pattern will be available, like I said, on Saturday the 30th, which is the Saturday coming. I always do like a 15% off discount on the pattern and my other patterns for the weekend, so it'll be the Saturday and the Sunday. Maybe it'll include the Monday as well, not sure yet. So, oh, excuse me, let me just mute that. Yeah, there'll be a like welcome discount code. And last thing to say, because you're already sick of hearing about this now, is that I'm currently running a giveaway on my Instagram page. Hello, are you coming up? We've got a visitor. Hi. Hello. Say hi, Molly. Say hi. Good girl. Oh la la. Are you gonna sit there? Okay. Sorry about that. She's now gonna sit on one of my finished objects. Are you sitting on the Reste Cardigan? Are you? She loves it. She makes a beeline for it above anything else. I don't know if it. I like to think it's because it matches her, black and white, but it's probably not that deep. What was I going to say? Giveaway. So one of the reasons that I'm filming this today, and will probably try and release it later today on Monday, is that I am running a giveaway, kind of celebrating the launch of this pattern and the thank you for support as always. And the giveaway is the prize for the giveaway is copies of the pattern. I launched the giveaway 7 days in advance of the pattern launch, and I'm going to pick a winner every day. So there's 7 chances to win a copy of the pattern, and I'll be announcing one winner every evening until Friday the 29th. That'll be the last one. So I've already had 2 winners, but there are 5 more to go. So if you fancy getting your hands on a copy of this pattern, then head over to my Instagram. I will put the link down below, both for my general Instagram profile, but also the specific giveaway post. And all you have to do is leave a comment with kind of tagging somebody, or even just telling me what colour you'd want to make, what kind of colourway you're thinking, main colour stripes, that kind of thing. It's been some really cool reading everybody's ideas. One of my favourite parts of every test knit I've done, every 3, is like the beginning when everyone's discussing colours and then they purchase their yarn, and then you kind of see, you know, because like I had a very clear vision in my head of what I wanted this to look like, which was like pale grey and then like a fade of colour family green and blues. But that's just what's in my head. But as soon as someone else gets hold of the pattern, they're like, oh, well, this is my vision, and it's like totally different. Like we've had monochrome, we've had dark main color and then full like set of neon highlighter stripes. We've had like muted warm tones, cool tones. It's my favorite bit, honestly. Yeah, getting inspired by everybody's different color choices, and that's happening all over again with what everyone's writing on the giveaway. So yes, if you want to be in with a chance of winning a copy of the pattern, then you still have 5 more chances, possibly 4, depending on when I edit this and get it live, because I'm picking one about 7 o'clock UK time every evening. But that's still 4 or 5 chances, right, to win a copy of the pattern. I think there are like 120 or so comments on the giveaway at the minute, so those are your odds, 4 or 5 in 120. I'm not going to try and do that maths live, but I think that's okay. What is that, like about 1 in 6? No idea, but it doesn't sound too bad to me, and it's free, so why not? So yeah, thanks. I feel like I've talked about this for ages. How long have I managed? Let's look. 19 minutes. Okay, but yeah, this is the big news. Very exciting, and just thank you in advance for all your support and enthusiasm for the pattern. As always, it means a lot. So I think that's everything I needed to say about this. If you have any other questions or comments or anything like that, just put them kind of down below in the comment section, and I will do my best to answer them. So let's move on to the sister pattern, the Reste Cardigan, and I'll explain my thoughts. So it's just next to me. I'm just wondering, I'll just show you first and then I'll put it on. So this is she. You will have seen her on the last podcast episode, but I hadn't finished both of the sleeves, which I have now done. Ta-da! And I also hadn't weaved in all of those ends, which I did yesterday. And as with all these things, you put it off, put it off, put it off, and it literally took me like 20 minutes max, and that was watching TV at the same time. So my new resolution generally is trying not to put stuff off so much, because it's just not very efficient. I'm trying to be more efficient in life. Here we are. I hope you can appreciate that. One thing I haven't done yet actually is put any buttons on. And here's the back. So yeah, this is she. Don't get me wrong, I'm very proud of her. Let me just stand so you can see both of the stripes. I love this little family of patterns. I'm wondering if there might be a tee in the works in the future. I'm not sure. But let me talk to you about the cardigan and where I'm at with it at the minute. Because in the last episode, I think I said something about the fact that I'd be launching a test call for it very soon. And in an ideal world, I would absolutely do that, because, you know, we're now into the autumn. I normally run my tests for like 2 to 3 months to give people properly time to fairly, you know, fair amount of time to make stuff. And, you know, something like this wouldn't be a quick knit. It's got the double knit button band. It's like a DK weight gauge. It's not speedy. But I don't think it's right to launch a test call for a pattern that I'm not 100% happy with necessarily. So this is her, and she is fab, don't get me wrong, she is beautiful. When the buttons are on, there's the top buttonhole there, it will kind of sit like this. So the top button height is reasonably high for a cardigan. Just need to find the right buttons. This sample is staying. I'm not frogging it or anything like that. I just may need to do another one. That's what I'm wondering. So let me stand up, so you can see. As always, there'll be B-roll, but this is what we're working with just now. And this might be a good opportunity to show you what the issue is. So this is how the cardigan is sitting at the front. And the eagle-eyed amongst you will probably notice what the issue is straight away, possibly. Try not to like pull it too much to try and make it sit naturally. But if I put my arms down flat, can you see what I'm getting at? So the back of the cardigan sits about here, and the front is sitting about here. So the front is pulling up quite a bit compared to the back. Yeah, you can really see it on this side. That's kind of where it sits, which is fine. This is a cropped cardigan, I'm aware of that. It actually has 4 stripes, while the sweater has 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the sweater has, there's the front there. The sweater has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, the issue is the pulling up at the front. Now, I'm pretty sure the reason that is happening is because at present, this cardigan pattern, obviously this sample, but the pattern, it doesn't have any short rows in it. And that's basically my issue, is that it doesn't have short rows. And I think maybe it needs them. The front is just pulling up, and I think it's probably the button band, the double knit button band, which kind of, the gauge and everything is fine. It's sitting really nicely. You can see that it is sitting nicely. and it's sitting flat, it's not curling, it's not puckering, but it will naturally want to contract on itself. And I think that's probably contributing to pulling up the front. But I think also the fact that the pattern doesn't have any short rows will be also contributing. So there are short rows in the sweater version. You can see them there at the front. And you can see that they drop the front neckline and raise the back neckline. We all know what short rows do, right? And I put them in my first sweater as well, but I didn't put them in the first cardigan, and I didn't have this issue. Now the we've got the other one. Hello, are you coming up? Come on. Are you gonna come up, or are you gonna just sit there and shout? Gonna just sit there and shout. Cool, good choice. The first cardigan has a lot more like positive ease. That's the other thing about this sample, which I'll get to in a minute. So I wonder if that's why, and it's longer as well. So I wonder if that's why it's less of an issue, and it's just less obvious. But as soon as I'd finished this and I'd weaved in all the ends and I put it on, I was like, wow, it's amazing. Oh, it's pulling up quite a bit at the front, and I'm just not happy with it. And if I'm not happy with it, I don't think it's right to release it as a pattern or take it any further as a pattern until I've fixed the issue, I feel. What do you think? I feel like it's probably one of those divisive things, because there is an argument that, okay, if it's just short rows that you'd want to change, nothing else about it, then could you kind of write them into the pattern, and then the test knit will, everyone making them in the test knit will test them. Literally, that's what the test knit's for, right? We'll test it for you. But I don't know if that's the right thing to do. Like, should I not have a sample that I've made and I'm happy with before it goes through testing? Because what if I'm not happy with them, or it's too difficult to put them in, or anything like that, and then we have to start the test knit and mess everybody around? I'm not sure. That's one argument, and the other argument is that's literally what the test knit is for. So I'm a bit torn. The interesting issue is that with a crew neck like this, the short rows go in the front here. So your first short row is just after the raglan, and then you kind of go a bit further and a bit further and a bit further until they almost meet. And then that's every time you're doing a short row, you're expanding the length of the row, but you're knitting backwards and forwards. So the back is getting the benefit of all of those rows, which is what raises it up. And the benefit of that is that you don't have to put them in the sleeve. And why that's beneficial is that your increase raglan maths is much more straightforward, because you're doing the same increases, you're increasing around both raglans by the time you get to here. If you put short rows over the sleeve, if you're kind of going here and then here and then here and then here and then here, you're only increasing over this raglan and not this one, which is just another mathematical thing to think about. So in a pattern like this, the V-neck shaping starts up here. So when you cast on, this is the cast on line here where the neckband is then picked up. There's actually only one stitch here. One stitch, then your raglan stitches, then your sleeve stitches, raglan back, and so on. And then you start increasing not only here for the raglan, but here for the V-neck. So you haven't got the room like you have in a crew neck to do your short rows all across here. But I could put them in the sleeve. Or perhaps I could even just put them in the back. I'm not sure. I'd have to have a play around. And that's why I'm not sure it's right for me not to knit another sample, or at least another yoke, because I would have to play around. So that's where we're at. Obviously, like, ideally I'd love to put it straight into test because it's seasonally the right time, you know. If I did a test call like now, we could start the test probably beginning of October, November, December, for like a January launch. That would be perfect. But I don't want to prioritize like that and essentially myself over the pattern that's not quite right and I'm not 100% happy with. The other thing that I found with this sample is kind of my yarn choice. It's very, very different to, I hope this shows up. It's very different to the sweater version that I did. So this is knit with 2 strands of fingering merino from Woolly Knit with no mohair, whereas this is knit with a sport weight and a mohair. And just the fabric that the two have created are very, very different. This is a lot more drapey and airy, and I feel like this is a 22 stitch gauge and this is a 23 stitch gauge, but this is a lot more dense than this. Both knit on 4mm needles, and it's kind of worked for this sample because it's like black and white and monochrome. It kind of reminds me of like a little, almost like a cropped jacket more than like a cardigan, but it's very dense, it's quite stiff, it's just not the same flowiness as this, because this is like I guess 1 strand of Highland wool which is bloomed with a mohair, whereas this has created more of a dense fabric because the 2 strands of fingering held together. So I'm also not 100% convinced about my yarn choice and whether I wouldn't want to knit another sample with a different yarn, probably this combination. The reason I chose to do this was I was trying to like play around with a mohair free. I know it's got mohair stripes, but you could obviously switch that out. I was trying to play around with a mohair free fabric because my first sweater and my first cardigan, they both use, in my samples at least, they both use Arvetta in a mohair strand, and then this uses Perilla in a mohair strand. And I know that knitters can sub out, you know, people do what they want to do, but I just thought it might be nice to have an option of mohair free. So I was kind of just playing around with it really, but yeah, for those reasons, I wonder if I at least need to knit another yoke. Sorry, my watch is pinging. I could knit another yoke and then knit the rest of it along with the testers, I suppose. That is an option. I feel like I'm trying to talk myself into and out of something at the same time. I don't particularly want to have to knit another sample because I don't have a lot of knitting time. I get maybe like an hour a day if I'm lucky in the evening, which isn't good like designing time because after a day of work my headspace is just, but I guess I have weekends and Mondays for like knitting and thinking. But yeah, it's not something I'd be able to do quickly, and like I said before, this isn't a quick knit. It's you know, a garment, it's got a double knit band, it's not speedy, and it's on 4mm needles, kind of light DK weight. I could write the pattern out and then ask a sample knitter to do it for me. I have considered that, so that could be an option. I have already thought about the yarn that I would use to make my second sample, so maybe I just need to accept that I need to make a second sample and this will be a next year thing. Maybe that's it. I'd love to make it in Perilla again, and I think like a charcoal, so like a darker grey than this but not a black, would be lush. And then I'd love to use some of my leftover hand-dyed mohair scraps for the stripes. I'll try and insert some pictures because I don't know exactly where they are at the minute. They're buried somewhere in my yarn stash, but I have some like purpley blue speckled hand dyed that I used for my sweater number 11. And I also have some Cisluril hand dyed, I think it's called Cloud something clouds, Candy Clouds, which is like a pale blue and pale pink speckle that I used in my Ian sweater. So I think that can be cool. So maybe I just need to suck it up and make the second sample, and then I could release it next year and it would be like totally, I'd be happy with it. Tell me your thoughts. I'm interested. I spoke to my knitting group about it, and particularly Sophie of the Knit Pearl Girl, because like obviously she's, you know, running that business full time. She does this kind of thing a lot. She, as far as I know, knits all of her own samples. Obviously she has a lot more time to do so than I do. And we kind of came to the conclusion together that maybe I do need to at least knit another yoke. So we'll see on that one. But I feel like I've put a massive downer on this. No, I'm really pleased with the finished result. Like, I love this little cardigan. It's very, very cute. I feel like it will be like a nice little piece that I can wear kind of to work, because it is quite smart, but also casually as well. Like, I think it looks quite nice with what I'm wearing today. It makes me feel a bit Parisian. I'm not quite sure why. And I also noticed the other day when I put a picture of this in my stories that when I do it up, I literally look like a skeleton, because the white look like ribs. Oh, that's opened now. It literally looks like ribs on a rib cage. So that's great. So maybe I can even double this as Halloween outfit. Who knows? So yeah, that's my musings on this cardigan. Let me know your thoughts. As a tester, would you be happy to test a pattern that's still very much in the works? Would you like to be part of that process? Or do you feel like that was a bit cheeky and really it should be kind of almost ready to go? Almost, I don't like this term, but like a preview knit type thing in a test knit. I'm interested. Very interested. Okay, right. That is enough about the Reste sweaters and cardigan. We've talked about them a lot, and I'm sorry if that was boring, but you know, Hive knits and natters, she natters. So let's just briefly go through my whips for the second part of this podcast. So very brief update on my bridal cardigan. So when I last showed it to you, I hadn't tried it on yet with my wedding dress, so I was a bit unsure whether I should carry on with any length or not, and I was working on a sleeve while I waited to try it on my dress. So on, not Saturday just gone, the Saturday before, I went to my first fitting appointment, which was really, really exciting, and I took the cardigan with me because I knew that it would be, well, now the dress is with the alterations person, so I can't try it on with the dress at the moment. So I knew that would be my last opportunity. And it was nice because obviously the boutique was really pretty. There were like really good mirrors. I could get like that vision of myself with the dress in a proper space, rather than trying to try it on with my cats around and the landing mirror and the light not being great at home. And I could also get like my mum's opinion because she came with me, and the seamstress's opinion. She was obviously present. And it was so sweet. She literally loved the cardigan. She loved the fact that I'm making a cardigan to go with the dress. My mum was like giving it all this, hyping it up. Oh, she won't tell you herself. She's a prolific knitter. She designed the cardigan. It was honestly like having a fan club there. It was great. But yes, I tried the cardigan on with the dress. Fortunately, I can't show any pictures just yet, but the good news is that the cardigan is already at the right length. I had a sneaking suspicion it would be, just because where the kind of waistband detail of the dress sits, I just was like, ooh, I'm not sure I need to do much more. And I'm glad I didn't, because it would have been really annoying to frog this beautiful cashmere yarn and like a waste of time. So luckily I was like, I think it's pretty much at the perfect length to start the ribbing, bearing in mind it's not blocked yet, but I think it was a good length. We all agreed it was a good length, didn't want much more length other than the ribbing. So as you can see, I have now started the ribbing. Da, 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 da. It looks quite cropped, but with the dress on it looked right, and like I said, it hasn't been blocked yet. So I think that's about 3 centimeters or so of ribbing. Oops. And in the pattern I wrote in 6 centimeters of ribbing. So I'll just do a little bit more and see. And then with regards to the sleeve, I have pretty much finished this sleeve. Now, if you remember from previous podcasts, this half fisherman's rib is very stretchy. The sleeves always look tiny before they're blocked. In the pattern with my green sample, I did 65 like V stitches, which is like double that number of rows, so 130 rows. That's a lie. I did 68 V stitches, so double that, it would be the number of rows. And that was the right length for the cuff then to balloon down into the cuff on the green one. Now, I am generally going for a slightly less oversized look with this one. I knit the green sample in a size 4 and this one is in a size 3. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to affect the arm length. Obviously the yoke depth will be ever so slightly higher with one size up. And the green one, the sleeves, because of the balloon sleeve, like they don't come like down over your hands like these. They kind of just, they balloon and then they sit there and then you get the big sleeve. So I have stopped this at 65 just because it's kind of how far I got to. I was like, oh, that's a slightly round number that's slightly less than the 68. And so when I've done the bottom ribbing, which I now can do, I'm going to knit the other sleeve to the same length and then block the whole thing, ready to then add the button band on, because I need it to be blocked to make sure the gauge matches the body gauge. And then when the sleeves are blocked, I can then see if I want a touch more length, or if actually with the general slightly less oversized look I'm going for, that 65 V's is enough. So that's where we're at. It's the 25th of September today, and the wedding is at the end of November. So we've still got about 2 months. So it's very much doable. I'm not worried about that. I know that the second sleeve and the button band doesn't sound like a lot, but both of them, for every row that you see, for both of those things, you actually knit 2. So it's double the work that it sounds. So it's basically 2 sleeves and 2 button bands. I blame the designer. But 2 months to go, I think we're doing okay. Obviously, I don't want to be making it right down to the wire. That would just be really annoying. But I couldn't really go much further with the length until I tried it on with the dress. And yeah, I'm happy with where we are. And it's just so exciting. We haven't had our like Zoom chat with the photographer yet, but on the little briefing that we wrote, I was like, I've knitted my own cardigan for my wedding to go with the wedding dress, so please can I have lots of pictures with it? Just gonna think I'm absolutely crackers, but never mind. So yeah, that is she. Oh, just so soft. Honestly, that Cashmere Dreams from Lang. Oh, let me show you it again just for fun. It's like, it's just so beautiful. That probably doesn't even show it off properly, but it's just so stunning. It's so soft. It's like a teddy bear. It doesn't have that fluff that Mohair has. It has a bit of fluff, but it's like different fluff. It's just so soft and like cuddly. It's beautiful. So yes, it's be a very, very special garment. But I'm not going to be precious about it. I'm obviously not going to wear it before the wedding, but after the wedding I definitely will want to wear it again. So yeah, that's that. So let me now show you what I failed to show you last time. I'm not going to go through all the preamble and all about the yarn again because I talked about it relatively extensively last time, but what I did mess up was actually showing you this whip. So let's try again. This is the Alexandra Tee by Notes and Knits. I get confused with Knit and Note, which is an app, and Notes and Knits, which is this design. This one is Notes and Knits. And it's a pattern that came out in like around 2020, I think. I remember she asked me if I wouldn't mind having a look over the pattern to like have a look over the English translation, and then she very kindly gave me a copy of the pattern to compensate for that work. And I've wanted to make it ever since, but just never have. So the yarn I'm using, as a very quick recap, is this merino linen blend from Imagine Wool in this beautiful green colour. It came in hanks. I have wound it up into cakes now, and I hope that you can see the linen fibres there. It's really, really interesting texture. It looks like it should be rustic AF, but it's not. It's so soft. It's lovely. It's just really intriguing. I've really enjoyed the process, this whole thing. Trying a new yarn, you know, a new fibre combination to me, and a new pattern. I'm holding it double. And let me show you, because I didn't show you last time. Let's just double check that we're actually on and recording. Yes. Yes, we are. I can confirm. Okay. Ta-da! This is she. So I've now made quite a lot of progress, as you can see. So here are some more short rows I was talking about earlier. You can see them at the front there. It's not blocked yet, so they are a little bit obvious, but they are bringing up the back neck very, very nicely. So this is, I think the original pattern doesn't call for a folded over neck, actually. I think I might have put that in myself. Oh no, that might be a lie. No, it did call for a folded neckline, I think, but I adapted it to use the short row fold rather than a pearl row fold, or just folding it, because I really enjoyed that recently on my new Poppy Tee. And then you can see that this shoulder construction is something I'd never done before. It's a saddle shoulder, and then it kind of moves into this like set-in sleeve kind of vibe. And I loved the fit of this in my Poppy Tee. It's one of the things I like most about it, how well it fits, and that nice kind of vertical line down the shoulder. I think it's just really flattering. And so, yeah, that's what we have here. This is roughly what it will look like on. So I've now split the sleeves, as you can see, only very recently. I haven't done much at all beyond the split. And the showstopper of this pattern is the sleeves, which I haven't got to yet, but they will be knit a little longer. In fact, I think it is like a long short sleeve, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like a little cap sleeve, it's kind of a good way down the bicep. And then they finish with a beautiful ruffle, which is just going to be so lovely. But yeah, that is my Alexandra Tee. You have now seen it on camera, and I am very excited to work more on this. I always knit like really tight. I've just accepted now that it's just a thing that I do, and I have to just accept it, know about it, and make adjustments for it. So this pattern is made for fingering held double, which is what I'm using, but my gauge is too tight. I can't remember exactly. I have a feeling it's like meant to be. In fact, let me just not guess. Let's look. So I have the pattern here. So, oh, she says, what is it? Alexandra, here it is. So the gauge, that's it. The gauge is meant to be 21 stitches, and I think mine's either 23. Yeah, I think it's 23 stitches mine. So it's meant to be knit on 4mm needles. So I'm still knitting mine on 4mm needles because I like the fabric that it's made. However, I'm making a size 4 instead of the size 2, which would have been the size for my bust circumference, if that makes sense. So I would have made a small, yes. So it's got 5 to 6 centimeters of negative ease. My bust is 88, so take 5 off that, 83, which is the finished measurement of the small. However, my gauge is off, so I did some gauge maths and I basically worked out that I needed to knit a size 4, which, as you'll see in a minute, is just a common thing for me now. It's another thing. So that's going to be us. I think that's going to fit nicely. I have risked it for a chocolate biscuit and have not actually tried this on yet. I was a bit worried that the neckline looked very small, but it's stretchy, so I think we're going to be okay. I do have a very big head. So I won't be surprised if in the next episode I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't try it on, so now I need to frog it. No, I think this will fit just fine. So hopefully in the next episode I'd like to have at least one of the sleeves done with the frill so you can see. But yes, sorry about the technical issues last episode, and you have now seen my Alexandra Tee. So that was a quick whiz through that, and then let's move on to the last project I'm going to show you, my last whip. I don't have any acquisitions to share today, apart from one that's related to this, and then that's it. So this last whip I sort of talked about last week. Sorry, I just need to get something on this bag. We sort of talked about last episode, but things have changed since then. That is not what I'm looking for. Aha. I'm looking for my tiny swatches. Here they are. Right. Okay. So in the last episode, I had purchased this tin silk mohair in this beautiful olive green colour. And I was really excited about it. I'd never used tin silk mohair before, and I was very keen to try it. And I think maybe when I ordered it, I thought it was a bit darker. This is quite a green, like not bright as such, but it's quite saturated. And yeah, I just thought like olive green would maybe be a bit darker. So I was talking about wanting to make an Elizabeth blouse by Petite Knit. My friend Caroline made a very beautiful hand-dyed version, and the construction was really interesting. I hadn't made anything like that before, apart from the zipper sweater, which I guess is sort of similar. But I wasn't sure what to pair this with, and I wondered if it might go with the black yarn that I used for my Reste Cardigan sample, but I wasn't sure what it would look like in a swatch. And the answer to that question is horrible. I knew as soon as I cast it on, I was like, that's horrid. I even tried using 2 strands of the mohair to like balance out the black, but the black, it's such, obviously it's a dark colour, it's black, it's literally the darkest shade you can get, but I didn't realise how much it would overpower like everything else. I'll show you. I only made a very small swatch because I was like, oh, I don't like this. So I think this is with 2 strands of mohair. Oh, this is so small, I'm really sorry. I'm going to try my best to show you. I hope that you're going to be able to get at least some idea. It's just so curly. Can you get anything from that? It's just so small, and I just didn't want to knit any more of it, basically. I hope you can see at least something there. Get my face out of this shot. yeah, not good. Don't like it. It reminded me of like camo, like army camo, and yeah, just didn't like it. So that was an interesting colour experiment. I don't know quite why I thought it would work. Well, I think I thought the green, I mean, you can see there how different they are as like strands of colour. I think if I'm honest, I thought the green was going to be darker. And then when it arrived, I love the colour, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the dark olive that I thought it was going to be. So I was like, right, that's fine. Scrap that idea. What else could we pair it with? So I swatched this. This is giving me like petite knit melange sweater vibes. I actually like this swatch. Again, it's really curly. I haven't blocked these, so I decided I didn't want to go any further with them. But essentially, this is my other swatch I've made. My face out of the shot. So that is using leftover Perilla from the jumper I'm wearing, actually. That's Perilla there, with one strand of the green mohair. And I really like the effect. It's just not what I wanted from the Elizabeth blouse. So I've saved this in my colour memory bank because I like the idea of doing a melange like that. But not for this project. So then I was like, right, not having much luck here. Let's just order something that actually matches. And it's fab. So I ordered the Sannes Sunday in like exactly the same shade. So this is 9062, which is like this olivey green colour, and this is also 9062. Yeah. So they were made for each other. And yeah, you can see there that the colour match is good. I just thought in the end, I was like, do you know what? I'm all for like a bit of colour experimentation, but I've got a vision for what I want in my head, and that's not it. So let's just keep things simple, and I'm really pleased with the result. So after all that faffing, I then started doubting my pattern choice. Not doubting. The Elizabeth sweater is a petite knit pattern. It has this kind of it's a collar with a placket but no zip or buttons. It reminds me a bit of like a rugby shirt type kind of thing. It's a really cool construction, and I've seen so many nice versions. But a bit of me was like, oh, I kind of like the idea of being able to do it up, of like a button or a fastening or a zip of some sort. And then I was like, wait, that's ringing a bell in my brain somewhere. That's tickling something for me. And I realised what it was tickling was a picture I'd seen of quite an old petite knit pattern, actually, old-ish, older than the Elizabeth blouse, which was the Maude Tee, which the more I looked at it, I was like, that's the Elizabeth blouse, but just the placket has buttonholes and it's short sleeved. The more I looked at it, I was like, that is literally the same. Like, I'm not slagging off petite knit, like, fair play to like use your technique you've used in the past and change things up, and the Elizabeth blouse has been a hugely successful pattern, so I'm not saying, oh, she's used the same pattern and made more money out of it or anything like that. I just realised that the construction is the same. It's just that like I said, it's Maude Tee is short sleeved and there's buttons, so it looks different, but it's actually not. If you took the buttons off, like, it's the same. And I was like, I've really been enjoying wearing my poppy tee, like a t-shirt, but like not a summer t-shirt because it's made in like a winter fibre. So maybe I'll try the Maude Tee instead, because it would give me the same kind of satisfaction trying out that construction. But I love the idea of like being able to do it up or have it open. So I thought, oh, shall I just buy the Elizabeth blouse, but then like hack it and add some buttonholes? And I was like, no, I'll buy the Maude Tee because then I've got the buttonholes. But if I want it to be long sleeve or I want to leave the buttonholes out, I can. So that's what I did. And I'm really, 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 really happy with it. So I feel like after faffing about for so long, I now have something that I really enjoy. So here she is. This is going to be a nightmare to show you because it's at that stage where it just looks like a big jellyfish and it's just really difficult to show. But essentially this is how the yarn combination is worked up. Beautiful. Like I said, I've never used this tin silk mohair before. I was intrigued by the fact that it had a bit of wool content, and yeah, I really like it. I think I probably am a little bit sensitive to it. It's very soft in the ball. This hasn't been blocked yet, so it may soften up slightly, but it's not intolerable by any means. And I think all mohair just give me a little bit of like prickle, nothing that I can't tolerate, but I like know they're there, if that makes sense. But just the combination of the Sunday and the tin silk mohair is really, really lovely. I have used Sunday before but I just held it single for a baby knit, the Friday sweater mini that I made for my friend's baby, and I really, really enjoyed using it. It's quite a lot higher plied than some other fingering yarns, I think, or at least maybe not plied, maybe it's quite twisted. But the texture combined with this is really nice. Again, the gauge for this is meant to be like 22 stitches, I think, but my gauge on 4mm needles, which is what this is knit on, in a fingering and a mohair, which is what these are, is stoically 24 stitches. It was the same for my first sweater, first cardigan. Like, that's just the way it is. And I'm kind of glad I know that now, because I can just be like, yeah, that's fine, that's what it is, let's adapt. So again, I'm making the 4th size instead of the 2nd size, the large instead of the small, using those stitch counts to get the finished measurements that I need, adapting for my gauge. And let me try and show you what's gone on here. So you start by knitting this collar and you do a Judy's Magic cast on, which was fun. And it's just so clever, like, that's where I cast on. Like, what the heck? It's great. Can't see it. And then once you'd done that, you joined the collar together and started knitting flat this yoke, because here is the double knit plackets with buttonholes, you know what I meant, and here's the side without the buttonholes. And then basically that's going to then sit like, this is what I mean by jellyfish. It's going to sit like that. Is probably the best we're going to get. Actually, I could put it on my shoulders, couldn't I? Let's take this off for the second time. Let's see if this works. Roughly show you what it's going to look like. I'm not going to push it because this cord is now getting to that stage where it's too short and I don't want any accidents. Let's leave there. You kind of get the picture. Let's just do one side then. So it's kind of going to look like this. Ta-da! Which I think is going to be mega cute. Yeah, love the colour. Interestingly, the buttonholes, which side are they? Here. They're really quite small. You can see them there. So I'm going to have to get some small buttons for this. I quite fancy just some very simple, like, seen someone knit.co.uk, I think they're drops buttons. They're just like little pearls. I think that would look really cool on here. So yeah, that's my final whip. Really loving this. It's one of those, it's like the poppy tea, it gave me a bit of like interest in the construction, because I was like, oh, I've just never constructed anything quite like this. In hindsight, it is quite similar to the zipper sweater, but obviously it's in stockinette. But the zipper sweater didn't have any buttonholes within the button placket. And it's interesting actually knitting like a double knit button band like as you go, because I didn't really realise you could do that. And I'm like, oh, I thought you had to do it as an afterthought, like I've done in my cardigans, like the picked up double knit button band. But this is like done as you go, which is very interesting. I don't know if it would work for a whole length of a garment, because this is just a placket. So I assume, I haven't got that looked that far in the pattern, but at some point, I think I've only got a few more raglan increases to go before we join this up, because eventually it's going to look like that. So we're going to join the placket, join in the round, and kind of the placket will end, and then we'll be in the round, and then we'll split the sleeves, and then blah 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 blah. So I think in the pattern it's like a short sleeve with then like either a double knit or like a folded hem on the cuff. I think it's quite long, but in stockinette, which I thought was interesting. But I have seen people adapt the Maude Tee to make it a long sleeve and then do that little cuff there. I think I will keep it as a short sleeve, mainly because that's the yarn quantity that I bought. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world to buy some more, but yeah, I'll be interested to see how this collar works out after blocking. Probably being pernickety, but it's just a little bit wonky. So I'm hoping that maybe my steamer and to get like crisp edges, I like steam block or wet block, and then using like a ruler or something like straight and firm. I like, you know, like a credit card or something. I can just imagine making that corner nice and crisp. But yeah, this is my Maude Tee. And yeah, it was a real example of like a weird and wonderful journey into like that stemmed from just randomly buying this because I like the colour and knit was having a sale, to trying to be clever with the colour combination that totally backfired, and then changing up the design that I wanted. Yeah, it's just, I love stuff like that in knitting. You're like, oh, I have this idea, and then you're like, no, don't, I'm changing it to this, or oh, I'm going to add that detail or hack that, or I just love that there's so many possibilities and no two garments will turn out the same because of that. Anyway, stop waffling. I've been talking for, God, just over an hour. When I sat down to film this, I was like, this will be way shorter than the last one. I've only got a couple of whips and my Reste sweater to talk about. Here we are, nearly an hour and 10 minutes later. I've bought a new laptop, which I'm hoping might be able to process my editing a bit faster, because my old one was a MacBook Air from 2017, and like it was actually great and still working pretty well, but God, trying to do anything in iMovie, you know, when computers, their fans are just like, and I was like, oh my God, I think this is actually going to finish this off. And it would take like hours and hours and hours to export like a half an hour clip. So I bit the bullet, have upgraded my laptop. So I'm hoping that might speed things up a little bit for me. So hopefully this will be out on Monday evening, the 25th. So don't forget that you've got like 4 or 5 more opportunities, 1 per day, to enter the giveaway for the Reste Sweater pattern free copy. The Reste Sweater is launching on Saturday, the 30th of September. There will be a discount code of some description, most likely 15% across all my patterns for the launch weekend, so the 30th and the 1st of October. And even if the pattern is not up your street, you're like, I don't need another striped pattern, although I would argue that it's lace weight scraps and with a little garter detail. Something is very different to any other striped pattern available. I'm joking. If you like, just sharing the post on Instagram, looking at the Ravelry page, anything to just help increase traffic and bring that post to someone for whom it might be like the most perfect sweater in the whole world would be much appreciated. And I know people do that anyway, but just an extra little plea. If you have any thoughts about my cardigan situation, let me know. And yeah, I've enjoyed chatting today. I hope you've enjoyed listening. It's been nice to do another video quite soon after the last one. So I don't think there's anything else to say. Take care, happy knitting, and I will see you next time we catch up and chat. Bye.